everybody, and again, thank you for your patience and welcome to our webinar on observation feedback to support conscious discipline implementation. As always, I am Monique Wilkinson and I will be presenting the webinar this afternoon. The webinar will last for roughly 30 minutes, and as before, we will have opportunities for you to actively contribute your ideas and give feedback. Please note, as the last one, that this webinar is being recorded and will be available in the upcoming days to view on the Institute's website. Also, at the end of this webinar, there is a question and answer session where you'll have an opportunity to ask any questions you may have. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So let's briefly explore again your Adobe Connect screen. The toolbar is located towards the top of your screen. And you'll see up at the top there the icon of the person with the raised hand, and that's your status tool. And if you click on it, you can see all the options that are available to you, such as asking me to speak louder or more softly, giving me a round of applause, haha, agree or disagree, etc. So please feel free to use that at will. And on the bottom right is the chat pod, which you have all found. Please feel free to type into that at any time if you have a question or a comment, and I will do my best to pay close attention to it and respond in a timely manner. So the content of this webinar will again be familiar to you as it reviews the key points of the observation and feedback process that were covered in HEO 0247, which many of you attended last year. However, the conscious discipline assessment rubrics and the Teach, Add, Grow coaching method have been added to this webinar. So our agenda for today is to talk about pre-observation conferencing using the conscious discipline rubrics, reviewing best practices and giving feedback, and talking about post-observation conferencing using the TAG coaching method. So thank you all again for taking time to attend our webinar today. Our hope is that this webinar will inform, engage, and support your work to sustain and deepen your center's implementation of conscious discipline through the use of reflective observation and feedback methods. So our real goal is to support all of you directors on our CDAT teams in using reflective observation and feedback to really deepen your implementation of conscious discipline. Viewing observation and feedback as formative assessment means that it is not evaluative, but a tool to support continued learning and improvement. The focus is to provide constructive information as well as recognize and reinforce outstanding practices over time. In education, observation and feedback is crucial to improving knowledge and skills and motivating learning. It is a type of developmental supervision, which we spent some time with in our last webinar. The focus for each observation is tailored to the particular needs of each practitioner. Each teacher's conscious discipline journey is different, which makes using the developmental methods to support implementation so important. The Teach, Add, Grow, or TAG coaching model from Conscious Discipline is a model to support the formative assessment and developmental supervision process. The Teach philosophy is what we offer to others, we strengthen in ourselves, and asks teachers to be willing to pay it forward by teaching an identified strength to someone else. Add means identifying one strategy that a teacher feels ready to add to his or her skills or structures to move to the next level of conscious discipline implementation. Grow means to reflect on a particular area of challenge or change or improvement and make a commitment to learning or being mentored in that area. Let's think about your prior experiences with the TAG coaching model, which was introduced to us by our conscious discipline trainer, Vicki Hepler, and has been continued by your Institute conscious discipline coach, at monthly visits. What have been your experiences with the TAG coaching model? Please type your responses into the chat pod. I see Shannon is busy typing a response. And Alethea. Shannon sees the process as positive and a great way to track growth and what areas need to continue. And that's true since we're doing the TAG model every month. We have documentation from month to month about growth, improvement, and strengths. Alethea, the question is for you to share your experiences with the TAG coaching model so far in the conscious discipline journey. Suhaili feels it's been very helpful. Can you elaborate a little bit, Suhaili, on that? Accountability is a huge part of the TAG coaching model, but it does it in a very um, non-confrontational and supportive manner. Oh, another person, Shannon, also talking about accountability. Definitely. So the model really also helps make the observer, whether it's the IE coaching partner or the center director, really helps them be partners in the conscious discipline journey and helps the teacher learn to be not only more accountable, but also more reflective. And it also, Ali says, helps us focus our time. Absolutely. Thank you for your responses. So we strive to consistently operate through the guidance of industry best practices. For observation and feedback, best practices include setting a specific goal, using reflective pre- and post-conferencing techniques, and maintaining objectivity. Pre-observation conferencing can often be a stumbling block for directors and administrators because it can be time-consuming. However, pre-conferencing builds trust, supports effective communication, and provides motivation to learn and improve. The TAG coaching model starts with a pre-observation survey or conference to get the teacher's perspective on what he or she feels are strengths, areas for growth, and specific questions or issues the teacher may have. This is the time that the conscious discipline rubric will be used to decide on the goal of the observation. So for all of you directors out there doing observations in your classrooms, what have you found are the benefits of pre-conferencing with a teacher, having a conference before going into the classroom to observe? Please type your responses into the chat pod. I see I have a lot of responses coming my way. The teachers feel more comfortable and prepared. It helps the teacher realize that we're partners and you're coming in to help rather than evaluate. That's very important. And it provides a focus or an area of the day with which they want help. And it shows respect for the teachers and validation after the observation. Oh, hi, Nancy. You're not Jeanette. You're Nancy. Yes, taking the time to pre-conference with the teacher before you go into the observation is so important because it respects their experience, their opinions, and makes them feel like they are partners with you rather than being observed or assessed or evaluated. And that's very, very important to support motivation for change and for growth. And teachers get to demonstrate their approach to the focus of the observation. It really helps them, I think, also feel a little bit more professional. Thank you for your responses. The lens for the observation visit will be either the Conscious Discipline Skill Progress Assessment rubric or the School Family Components rubric. These rubrics offer a way to increase learning and understanding by providing a concrete measure of what the next level of implementation looks like. The choice of tool depends on the goal of the observation which is chosen during the pre-observation conference. Does the teacher want one of her conscious discipline skills, such as composure or offering two positive choices, to be assessed, or the effectiveness of the school family structures, rituals, and routines in the classroom? Remember that it's best to limit the focus or goal of the visit to one or possibly two related skills and or structures. Objectivity can be challenging to maintain when observing teachers. Prior knowledge and experiences with children, teachers, or other circumstances may creep into our minds. The conscious discipline rubrics with their detailed descriptions for each level will help observers maintain objectivity and clearly see what is and is not happening in the classroom. In order to provide the most helpful feedback, the rubric must be interpreted with fidelity. It is important to note that observation visits with the TAG coaching model require observers to join in the activities of the classroom. This helps the teacher continue to view you as a team member and a coach, not as an evaluator. So using the TAG model means you will not be standing and taking notes like a typical observer or assessor that your teacher might have grown accustomed to over the years, but instead interacting with the children like a teacher, using conscious discipline language and strategies, and at the same time noting how the classroom teachers are using the same strategies and how the children respond. We all have seen how when Vicki comes and does her visits, she gets right down on the floor, sits down at the table with children and interacts with them. And that's what a conscious discipline observation using the rubrics is all about. So let's take a moment to reflect. Under the TAG coaching model, describe what an observation looks like. Please type your responses into the chat pod. Many responses are coming our way. So Alethea responds, you have a discussion with the teachers beforehand, you choose a specific area, you conference with the teacher afterwards about what went well and what they would like to teach others and add into their own classrooms. Yes, focusing on one specific skill or ritual or routine or component is very important. Otherwise, our observations are too broad and become overwhelming. Got a couple more responses coming in. Choosing an area to observe and provide feedback with documentation or video. Those are important points. The observation notes are documentation or video if you are so lucky to have the ability to do that. Video can be an invaluable tool to help a teacher see strengths and also pinpoint areas to improve. Looks like we have one more response coming in. Okay, it seems that all of you have this process down pat. So now we're going to move on to arguably the most difficult part of the observation and feedback or developmental supervision process, which is feedback. Once the classroom observation is complete, it is critical to meet with the teacher or teachers to reflect on and discuss the observation visit. It's during this time that the Teach, Add, Grow form is completed and a plan can be developed to identify details for the Grow item. Some important overall best practices or guidelines to remember when giving someone feedback are to be specific, don't evaluate, to give your feedback in a timely way, preferably within 48 hours, giving the feedback in a manageable amount, matching the feedback to the experience level of the teacher, and helping that teacher figure out how to act on your feedback. These guidelines align well with Conscious Discipline's TAG coaching model, which we're moving to next. The TAG post-observation conference starts with noticing. Just like we use noticing to reinforce children's positive behavior, we do the same with our teachers. We ask the teachers to reflect on or notice what they feel went well during the observation visit related to the chosen goal or focus, and the observer takes notes on the teacher's reflection. Then the observer does the same, reflecting on the positives he or she noticed related to the goal and writing them down on the form. And it's, again, a great way to document growth over time. The discussion then moves to the Teach, Add, Grow portion of the form. The teach item is a skill or structure on which the teacher clearly scores at a level 4 on the corresponding rubric. Teach asks teachers to be willing to pay it forward by teaching this strength to someone else in the program, perhaps another teacher who has that same skill or structure as an add or grow item. Both the observer and the teacher mutually agree on the teach item and potential opportunities to teach it to others. The add item is one skill or structure that a teacher feels ready to add to, extend, or go deeper with to move to the next level of conscious discipline implementation. This would be a skill or structure that is currently scoring at a 2 or a 3 on the corresponding rubric and just needs some extra focus or resources to reach a level 3 or 4. The rubric is used to decide what facet of the skill or structure is left to implement. The add item is chosen by the teacher as she reflects on her own skills and implementation of structures in the classroom and decides which one she is ready to add. And finally, the grow item is a particular area of challenge in conscious discipline implementation that is likely scoring a 1 or a 2 on the corresponding rubric. The teacher decides which skill or structure they feel ready to make a commitment to learning to bring to the next level. The process of growing for this item may require additional reading or training or more observation and mentorship by someone for whom this item is a strength or a teach item. The bottom part of the grow column asks teachers to identify which strategies they will use to grow in this particular item. The tag coaching method is meant to be used routinely over time to acknowledge and foster growth in conscious discipline implementation, which again aligns with best practices in observation feedback and developmental supervision. Both the teacher and the observer, whether it's the director or the IE partner, keep copies of the notice and tag forms for each visit. This helps document growth and justifies new implementation levels that are noted on each rubric. Let's take another moment to reflect. Take a moment to type into the chat pod what key points stand out for you about the tag coaching model. What ideas are really jumping out at you and make the most sense for you and are helping you the most in your implementation of conscious discipline? Please take a moment and type that into the chat pod. Alethea responds, using the rubrics to see where you really are and then planning from there. That's really important. When you use the rubrics the right way, all the information is there for a teacher and her director or her coach to see what's really happening, and then you look at the next level and you say, okay, where do I go from here? Shannon really appreciates the reflecting on growth. And again, when this observation is done routinely, it's really easy to look back and see where you started and all the steps that have been taken to help you reach your current level of implementation. And the teach component is really, really helpful for school-wide implementation. Uh, you have teachers that are great at some things and need more support with others, and teachers can be paired up to help each other with implementing skills. And it's not always you, the director, that's doing the teaching and having to be in that position. There can be some peer support and teaching going on. Nancy appreciates the commitment to grow in a particular skill. Have another response coming in. Okay. You can do it, Sue Haley. Okay, one more response coming in. Yes. Yes, the whole tag model really does provide a nice lens for viewing growth and improvement over time. Thank you for your responses. So if you are anxious about implementing observation and feedback cycles with the tag coaching method, your pilot classroom teacher would be the logical place to begin. This teacher is already accustomed to having an IE partner or coach in the classroom using the tag model monthly and has demonstrated willingness to learn and is open to hearing how to learn and grow in order to improve their practices. As you are moving towards school-wide implementation through the school family, let's take a moment to discuss those teachers who may not be as motivated to jump into this process. Take a moment and type into the chat pod, how would you approach a teacher like that? Or how have you already tried to work with a teacher who is a little bit hesitant to jump on the conscious discipline train with you? What are some things you have done? Alethea says, start with the ones that are willing first and hope they will see the benefits. I think that's a logical response. Kathy says modeling for those teachers what certain conscious discipline skills or structures or routines look like makes it a little less scary. Asking them what questions they have and how do they want to increase their knowledge about conscious discipline, putting the ball back in their court and making them have a little bit, feel like they have more control. Observing in the pilot classroom can definitely be helpful. Making it fun. Book studies are like a family get-together. Yes, if you bring food, they will come. So you already have been working really hard on bringing those more hesitant or worried teachers into the fold and helping them feel more comfortable with the transformation that's happening in your centers. Showing them a positive outlook and how conscious discipline can make things better. Okay. Shannon starts out by just asking them if they're willing to learn, just gauging their willingness to take a little step towards learning and not necessarily doing anything, and then pairing that person with the pilot co-teacher who's very enthusiastic. These are all very helpful strategies that I hope have been successful for you. Thank you for your responses. So as we start to wrap up our webinar, you're likely thinking more about your school family and how you might continue to use the TAG coaching model with everyone to help deepen and spread conscious discipline in your program. And so on the slide are some questions to maybe spark your thought process a little bit more. What skills or structures is your CDAT team ready to teach to continue to build your school family? What skills or structures are next to add? And what skills or structures are growth items for them? What are the particular challenges they're facing and how can you support them in their quest to learn more and successfully tackle that growth item? So again, as we're starting to wrap up, we want you to be on the lookout for an invitation to the last webinar in our series, Reflective Practice to Support Conscious Discipline. This webinar is designed for everyone on your Conscious Discipline Action Team, especially for the teachers. So we ask you in the next 30 days or so to find a way for your teachers to join this webinar, because it really is designed especially for them. The next webinar is Tuesday, March 28th from 1 to 2 p.m. And as always, we will forward all details and all links to register and join the webinar. And we're really excited about that one, especially about including the teachers from the CDAT team in the webinars. As a reminder, the Institute has established online learning supports that are available to the entire Palm Beach County workforce. Our YouTube channel hosts our learning objects and tutorials that can be used to preview our courses, review concepts, and improve teaching practices. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel by visiting the web address on your screen. Our Pinterest page provides teachers with course previews and refreshers on concepts, as well as ideas for teaching strategies, lessons, activities, classroom decor, and management to implement into classrooms. Please follow our Pinterest page by visiting the web address on your screen. Our Facebook and Twitter pages provide up-to-date information about available courses, information sessions, SEEK scholarship deadlines, always important, and Institute updates, as well as local, regional, and national news relevant to the early childhood field. Please like our Facebook page by visiting the web address on your screen, and follow our Twitter account by, again, visiting the web address on your screen. So does anyone have any questions about the content we've covered today, the upcoming webinar that we might be able to address in the next couple of minutes? See your response coming in. Okay, thank you, Nancy. So just before we go, we would like to take a moment to ask you for your feedback on this webinar. Did you find this webinar helpful? What can be improved outside of the audio glitch that we had to deal with at the start this afternoon? Any feedback at all, feel free to type into the chat pod, or if you'd rather email it to me, that would be fine as well. Okay, I see that Nancy's typing. I will make sure to read your response, Nancy. So as we wrap up, I just want to remind you again, a follow-up email is going to be sent with a link to view today's recorded webinar if you'd like to view it again. Thank you so much for joining us today. And again, if you have any questions about the TAG coaching model or the observation feedback process, please contact your Institute Conscious Discipline coach. Thank you so much.